Top 5 weight loss myths debunked. Hey guys, Sean here from Breakthrough Bootcamp, and I've had the unique opportunity as a gym owner to see thousands of people come in and out of my gym face to face, and most of them have the goal of losing weight. So as you can imagine, I've heard it all, I've seen it all, and there are still several myths and misconceptions about weight loss. So I'm gonna go over the 5 most common myths, and chances are you probably believe in at least one of them as well. So I'm gonna explain why they're a myth and what you can do about it. So without further ado, number 5, exercise your way to weight loss. As a gym owner, I wish this was true. If this was true, this would make my life and my business a lot easier. But we know exercise without nutritional intervention is not an accurate predictor of how much weight someone is gonna lose. Now, exercise is probably the best thing you can do for your health. It's gonna improve your overall physique. But what it's not gonna do too much of is drop that number on the scale. Unless you train like an athlete, which 99.9% of us are not, you're not gonna exercise your way to weight loss. And the reason I bring this one on the list, because this is probably the one that I hear the most, where people come in and they have a goal of losing weight and they kind of just hope that they're able to come in and work out 3 times per week and not really change anything at home and totally transform their body. And as much as I would love for that to be true, just gotta be realistic and upfront, where if you're not willing to make changes at home, don't expect the act of exercising for 45 minutes a day to change everything. So while you should be exercising regularly, don't expect it to move the scale down as much as you might like. The key, as we know, is through nutrition. You gotta make those nutrition choices that are going to be conducive to weight loss, and we've discussed that a million different times. Number 4, my metabolism is ruined or broken or whatever it is that you wanna say. And this is a very common thing that I hear. I hear it so often that you would think that everyone's metabolism is broken, but here's what happens. When we struggle to lose weight, we want to make sense of it. We need to come up with a logical conclusion that makes sense for why our efforts are not paying off. And the few exceptions to this rule are easily identifiable. So go get your blood work done. If you have certain hormone issues, that can be an issue, especially thyroid. So if you have thyroid issues or other hormone issues, it can really affect your weight loss struggles. If you have certain medical conditions, or if you are on certain medications, those might affect your weight loss. But if you come back with a clean bill of health, your metabolism is not ruined. And that should be liberating. It should be a good thing, not a bad thing. Because as humans, we tend to vastly underestimate our calorie intake and overestimate how many calories we burn off. So what I would suggest doing is, at least for a week, be meticulous and track your calories, track your macros, and get an idea of where you're at. Because the amount of times that I've seen people take this intervention and go from having the conclusion that their metabolism is busted to all of a sudden breaking through and losing a ton of weight, it happens all the time. So your metabolism is not ruined. It can be slow, it can be lowered, but it can also be fixed. Your metabolism is like a thermostat. And the way to slow down your metabolism, which you don't want to do, is by crash dieting. So really aggressive diets, cutting calories really aggressively, doing this over and over and over again, having your weight go up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's what you want to try to prevent from happening. If it does happen, you can still fix it. It just takes a little bit more of a long-term approach. That's a topic for another video. But the good news is your metabolism is not broken. Number 3, cardio is the best exercise for weight loss. So we already talked about the fact that exercise is not the best thing for weight loss. But when it comes to exercise, what's the best thing to do? And it's easy to conclude that cardio is the best thing to do because you can feel it, right? You feel that sweat pouring down, you get those endorphins, you feel tired, and it's just like, it's almost like a visceral feeling where you can feel yourself losing weight. This is true. So you burn a lot of calories when you're doing cardio. The problem is you're not maintaining or building muscle mass while you're doing it, and that's responsible for increasing your metabolic rate. Also, with cardio, what happens after you do a long run? You're probably going to be famished. You're going to be really, really hungry. And then as you overeat after your cardio, you kind of just defeated the purpose. Now, cardio is still one of the best things you can do for your overall health. And it still is a great way to burn calories. It's just not the most efficient way. Instead, I would focus more on strength training and resistance training, because even though it doesn't burn as many calories at the time, it builds and maintains muscle mass. It's going to be really good for your overall metabolic rate and your physique, because it's not just fat loss that it's targeting, but the muscle aspect as well. So you get that toned physique that you like. So don't disregard cardio, but make sure strength training is the foundation of your program. Number 2, training abs for a flat stomach. Still a really common belief that you have to do a ton of ab work in order to get a flat stomach. And this is just simply not true. In fact, I had one person who came to me and was really upset because they wanted to do more ab training at boot camp, because the last boot camp they were at, that's all they did. Like literally 100% ab training. And that's just, it's not a good way to work your abs. Think about it this way. So your abs are what? They're a muscle. What happens when you train a muscle over and over and over again? The muscle gets stronger, the muscle grows. So when you're trying to lose inches in a certain area, you might actually get a bigger waistline if you only do ab training. Now, it's not going to be fat, of course, it's going to be muscle, but still, you're not going to get that physique and transformation that you want. All of us have those six-pack abs. The problem, if you can't see it, it means it's covered by a layer of fat. So you're thinking about it the wrong way. Don't think about it as if you need to attack the muscle. Think about it as, how do I remove the fat? And the way you remove the fat is through nutrition. Like I said in the beginning, you want to bring down that body fat percentage. You can train big muscles, but not necessarily the ab muscles, because it's not going to help with that particular area. We can't spot reduce with training. We can spot reduce when it comes to building muscle in certain areas, but you can't spot reduce when it comes to training a certain area and expecting only to lose fat in that area. As humans, what happens is we are biologically predisposed to lose fat in specific areas, and we're all different. So I might lose weight in my waist first, whereas someone loses it in their legs. You can't change this. This is just the way your genetics are. The good news is, if you get your body fat percentage down to a low enough point, you will get to the point where your stomach is nice and flat. Sometimes it just might be the last thing that comes. But do not despair, eat healthy, train consistently. Don't worry about going too hard with training abs. It's great to train abs, but in moderation, like any other muscle group. So no, you cannot train abs for a flat stomach. And number 1, weight loss and fat loss are not necessarily the same thing. When you come in and say you want to lose weight, chances are what you really want is to lose body fat, because the easiest way to lose weight is just to dehydrate yourself. Don't drink water for a day or two. See what happens to your weight. Your physique's not going to change. Your energy is going to be worse. You're not going to feel good. You're going to lose weight though. So what you really want is you want an overall improvement on your physique. And the weight is just one metric. But the most important thing is that you drop body fat. So we discussed this already. You got to eat healthy, get the nutrition on point, and train correctly. Because when it comes to training body fat and losing body fat, it's a slow and gradual process. Don't expect to lose 2, 3, 4 pounds of fat every week. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. You might lose 2, 3, 4 pounds of weight. That doesn't mean that it's fat. It can be water. It can be, there's so many different things in the body that makes up for weight fluctuations. Especially women when it comes to hormones. Every week you're going to have these weight fluctuations that are different from guys. It doesn't mean that your body fat is going up or down. So what do? Use the scale as a metric, but don't use it as the only metric. Instead, 2 other things that I really like to use here. Number 1, how are your clothes fitting? If you find that your clothes are fitting a lot more loose, then you are dropping body fat. And 2, probably the best way to do this, if you can, get a measuring tape and do measurements on your arms, your chest, your waist, your hips, your legs. If those measurements go down, you're dropping body fat. It's much better for the measurements to go down than the weight to go down. So if the weight stays the same and the measurements go down, that's a good thing. If the weight goes down and the measurement stays the same, I'd rather see it the other way around, because that means that you probably haven't dropped that much body fat. So just be aware that weight and fat are not necessarily the same thing. They tend to go hand in hand. So as you drop body fat, you usually will drop weight, but not necessarily. So make sure you're not only using the scale as the metric that you go by, because I know a lot of people who are what you would call overweight or obese on the scale, but their body fat is really low and they have a really impressive physique. So don't worry too much about the overall weight. Instead, focus on that body composition. How are your clothes fitting? What are those measurements? Are they going down? Because those are the things that you really want to look for. So those are my top 5 myths and misconceptions about weight loss. I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have any that if you've heard over the days, the years, the months, whatever, post them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for any future videos that you would like me to do, I'm always open to suggestions. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next week.